from each of you that you can share about your experience with Jonathan Larson.
There's a kind of side of him that I got to see from knowing him for a little more than a year, which was I got to start to befriend him, and he was kind of unlucky in love, kind of like Mark. And there was an actress friend of mine named Christina who I had done a movie with in between doing the 94 workshop and doing the 95 off Broadway. And they met at a birthday party that I had at my apartment, at which he also told a friend of mine when asked what he does for a living. He said, "I'm the future of musical theater." And my friend was like, "What? What's up with that guy?" But he kind of started crushing on Christina, and she was an ex-girlfriend of John F. Kennedy Jr.'s. So he was very intimidated to have this crush on Christina because John F. Kennedy Jr. was one of the most eligible bachelors. And one of the really final conversations I had, like one-on-one, sort of just chit-chat conversations, because it's hard to do that when you're in a rehearsal process, to really take the time to kind of connect on that level, was when we'd already moved into the New York Theater Workshop, and we were in tech, and it was like early morning, he had his coffee, and he was just sort of like sheepishly came up to me, and he was like, "So what do you think I should do about Christina?" He's like 35 years old, you know, and I was like, "Well, you should tell her, you know." I don't know, I just don't know that that's something that people really know about Jonathan. And then, you know, sadly, he never really worked at his courage in time. So, but she did know. I found out later that she did know, as people tend to know when someone's crushing on them. She did know. And of course, she was very touched by that. So.
I, like anyone who knew Jonathan, didn't know him for nearly long enough. But you know, and unfortunately had very few opportunities to socially interact with him in any sort of capacity outside of the rehearsal process, because we spent so many hours in there doing it. And one of the few times I remember socializing with him outside of that was when me and Anthony and Jonathan and Daphne went out to lunch together, and it was that winter of 95, 96, when we had like 18 blizzards. And so anytime we walked out of the theater, there was at least a foot of snow on the ground. And we were coming back, and we were walking through Tompkins Square Park, and I don't know how it's happened, but we ended up getting in a snowball fight in the playground on the way back from lunch. And it was just a very poignant moment, and it's one of the moments I'll always remember about Jonathan, because it's one of the few that I actually really had with him. So there you have it.
Very much like Adam, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him outside of that, but there was, I used to walk around, actually during that time with all those blizzards that were occurring all at once. I was walking around with this huge trench coat all the time, which actually I still have now, this huge black trench coat. And I walk in, I think I walked in a little late because I was working 2 jobs at the same time because, you know, medical insurance. So I had this coat, and he's just kind of like leaning back and he's eyeing my coat. And he's looking me up and down and he goes, "Nice coat." And I say, "But they're blowing my coat from the Mississippi." And he's looking at me like, "Oh, that was the wrong key." And that's definitely one of those moments that I remember of Jonathan. He was, you know, he was sweet, but he was picky. he wouldn't, you know, he would definitely tell you to your face. So, yeah.
Viva la vie,